Hello, everyone. My name is Ronald Travers. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about myself today. Um, I'm 24 years old. I'm from Winnipeg, born here. Uh, my reserve, my homeland, is Lake St. Martin. Spent the first few years of my childhood there, but other than that, I'm a city boy. Yeah, I'm going to share a little bit of my story with you. So, telling my story, really, faith is a big part of it. Faith, the belief in God. It really started with my mom, Charlene Travers, actually. I think it was during the 60s. She was 17 years old, and she was really searching, asking big questions in life, like, what am I doing here? What's my purpose in life? And during that time, there was a Jesus movement sweeping through the city, and a lot of people were getting saved. And my cousins actually got saved, well, her cousins. And so then they shared what they found out about God with her, and she got saved. So I kind of grew up in a Christian home, but not really. My mom, although a believer, she never really knew what it meant to live out her faith in her day-to-day life. She believed in God, but growing up it felt like, yeah, we believe in God, we believe in Jesus, but the name really didn't have any power, or we only went to God when we needed something, and that's kind of what it was like. We barely went to church growing up. We'd go once in a while. My mom would tell me Bible stories, stuff like that. But she was 30 years old when she had me. I grew up in pretty much all the ghettos in Winnipeg, right here in the north end. Spent a lot of years in Point Douglas, Central as well. So I was 9 years old when I accepted Jesus into my heart, and I would say that that's the day that I was born again. I had just gotten into a fight with my brother, and I just, my mom broke us up. She put my brother in a room. She took me. We started talking about forgiveness, and I just remember asking God to be a part of my life, and I just felt this indescribable feeling come over me. I would say that I did that more out of a fear of like going to hell, and I did know that I needed forgiveness for the things that the bad things. That was just the start of my journey. Like I said, faith was never really walked out in my family growing up, so that's kind of how it was. When I was 11 years old, I started smoking pot. It just started off as a very small thing. I did it for fun, did it with my brothers. And when I was like 13, I was like a full-blown pothead. And there's weed's a funny thing. I say it's two things it's going to do to you. It's either going to lead to other stuff, or you're going to end up in your mama's basement playing video games till you're 40 years old. And I believe those are the two outcomes. But anyways, I was already smoking pot regularly when I was 13, and that's when things really started getting bad with my family. My dad was abusive growing up. My mom, she struggled with prescription pills and gambling. So that was always a real struggle, not knowing if we we're going to make the month's rent, or just really not knowing what we're going to eat, and just her being there but not there. And my dad was pretty much an alcoholic as well. He was like I said, abusive growing up. So that was my family. When I was 13 years old, I had one brother in CFS already, and two more were taken to CFS. That's when things really started going bad. I had, shortly after that, me and my mom moved out. My dad left me and my mom. He went to go back to my reserve, Lake St. Martin. And then so we stayed with my sister for a bit. And then eventually, my mom met a man and she left me. She went to go shack up with this dude and left me with my sister. So my sister basically took care of me growing up, her and my cousin. So She tried her best to take care of me, but growing up, I kind of lived in a house with rules, and then when I was 13, it's basically all that got removed. Like I said, I was smoking pot regularly. I love video games growing up, still do. Um, and yeah, I met these guys in Point Douglas. They're actually really good friends of mine. I call them brothers now. But at the time, they didn't like me. They'd always try to fight me and stuff. And eventually, I made friends with them, and they asked me if I wanted to start selling drugs. So I started selling crack. Two reasons I did that was to supply my weed in my video games. And yeah, I was never good in school either. I had trouble focusing, and behavior issues, and both of those played on each other. And eventually I got put in the LAC classroom, which is learning assistant classroom, or special ed as people call it. And in there you don't earn credits. And so growing up as a teenager, I was like, well, if I'm not earning credits, then what's the point of trying to graduate? Because I won't get a diploma, therefore I can't get a job, therefore I can't go to college either. So when I was 15, I decided to drop out of school. And when I did that, I was already drinking pretty regularly, having wild parties, stuff like that. And I was deep into dealing drugs. Never been down with a gang, but I've always hanged out with gangsters growing up. Yeah. So I lived like that for a couple more years until I was around 18 and a half. And yeah, that's like, growing up, I'd say I'd still believed in God, but like I said, I didn't really want anything to do with God. I was kind of mad at him, just for the way things in my life turned out. Yeah, when I was 18, there was, I was having a party with all my cousins and my friends, and yeah, they ended up going for like a beer run again, and they got jacked, and we knew the guys that jacked them, we knew they were staying, so we're like, well, let's go get these guys, we know where they stay. So we did. Turns out they're having a big party too, and so we got in a big brawl, all of us. This would have been just outside the developments, right on King Street. And yeah, we started fighting, and then eventually, yeah, I got beat up pretty bad. I got beat up with pots and pans. I got my eye busted open. I got hit on the back. And yeah, I ended up fighting my way out there, barely. And yeah, I was pretty injured after that. I was laying in bed for about a week. I couldn't walk. I could barely walk, actually. And I was just sick of living how I was living. And it was more than that. Like, a lot of my family struggles with addictions. Hardly anyone graduated high school. Since then, a lot of people have graduated. But, yeah. So I was just sick of living the way I was living. Yeah, I was tired of selling drugs. At the time, I was only dealing marijuana because there's way less violence that comes with dealing crack. Yeah, I'd been out of school for a couple of years, and I was also just sick of partying as well, sick of doing drugs. And so during that time, it was July 27, 2014, I dedicated my life to God. I said, Lord, I want to change, but I don't know how to change, and I need your help. And yeah. And God did miracles in my life after that. About a week later, I had my first legit honest job. It was as a prep cook and dishwasher. And growing up, I love cooking. I still do. And I wanted to be a chef. But yeah, at that time, as I worked in this kitchen, I realized that, I still love cooking, but I do not want to be a cook growing up. Yeah, like, I don't see myself doing this for the rest of my life. And yeah, that was the last time I smoked weed. I still struggled with alcohol for a year or so after that. Yeah, although God did miracles in my life, I wouldn't say that I was instantly perfect, as some people think. But yeah, eventually I went back and graduated high school. I was the first out of 7 siblings to graduate. At least I think so. I got one other brother. I don't know about that. And I went to college as well. Had a few other jobs. And on May 10th, 2017, 2 weeks after I got back from Bible college, I started working here at the Bridge Drop-In, or Inner City Youth Alive. And yeah, that's my story. But anyways, I just want to tell you a little bit about what I do now. So Inner City Youth Alive, we do a few things. One, the main thing is our drop-in center, and then we have Gem Lake Bible Camp. And I work with the Bridge team member. I mean, that's the name of my official role, which sounds very vague and doesn't really do it justice. But anyways, so basically what I do here is I work 2 drop-ins a week. And when I'm not doing that, I'm either doing one-on-ones or group hangouts with people in the community. I mainly work with teen guys. And me and my buddy Joel also run a Bible study together. And we have some busy seasons, like during the summer we're really busy running programs. But also working at camp as well sometimes. That's what I do here. I just want to share with you some of my dreams. I shared my story, and I grew up struggling with addictions, among other things. And that's what I've seen growing up in my community. And, that's what God did in my life. But it's also me taking responsibility for my own life and deciding to do better, despite having crappy circumstances. And I would call that empowerment. So what I want to see happen in my community, in the city, in the world, is for people to get empowered, for them to overcome addictions, trauma, other things, and just to really take control of their lives. I just want to see good done in the world as well. There's a lot of evil going around in this city. Meth has a big grip on our city. Violence as well, people killing each other, and I would just like to see that stopped. And I believe one day it's gonna. One day things are gonna get better, and that's what I live for. That's my goal in life, to help make the world a better place. That's me.